To our viewers and listeners on radio and TV Jagati, we welcome you to the program Addiction and Recovery. I'm your moderator this morning, Alicia Amin Ramsahai, as we welcome the host of the program, Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka. Sitaram, good morning to you, sir, and a Happy New Year to you.
Good morning, Sitaram, Alicia. It's really a privilege and a pleasure to be doing the program with you this morning. And let me join with you in welcoming all our listeners, both in Trinidad and Tobago and up the Caribbean worldwide. And let me remind our listeners again and say Happy New Year to you and your family and our extended family, that is our listeners and viewers on this media. And to remind our brothers and sisters out there that this program is also available at, it's repeated at 10 p.m. in the night. And it is also going to be posted on Facebook and YouTube. For those who don't have the time currently to listen to it in detail, you can go back. And of course, in that media, you can rewind the program. And of course, you can call and ask questions. My number is posted 671-3040. And if you have any questions, you're quite welcome to call and ask. So again, it's a really a privilege to be here. It's the new year. And especially to be doing this program, I think we are doing it the first time together, Alicia.
No, actually, we had two segments already at the beginning
Okay.
last year.
All right. See, my old memory sometimes slips.
Yes. And how was your holidays? Tell
Oh,
me.
beautiful, beautiful. You know, Alicia, I live every day. I'm not pessimistic, but I live every day as though it could be our last. If you look around and you see every day friends and people you have known, and you look in the media and you're seeing that there's so much uncertainty on life, so that it would be wise, it would be really important for all of us to live fully every day. Because as I said, I'm not pessimistic, or
Right.
but it could very well be your last. But
Mhm.
even if it wasn't, you would have done so much more. In fact, I have explained this in the past that, you know if a person lives for 80 years and every day they do one thing only, and another person lived 80 years and they did two things every day, the second person would have been like he lived two 80-year lifetimes. So if you use that same understanding, the more you pack into your day, you can extend your life. Even in one lifetime, you could have lived several lifetimes. So to answer your question, that's how I live. So every day is like Christmas. Every day is like New Year's. Every day is a celebration. The mere fact that you wake up in the morning and
Yes, it
you're
is
alive, yeah,
different. Live every day, uh, take life every day as a celebration.
definitely,
Yes.
definitely. So this morning, I thought I went back into my own life experiences as a person in recovery myself. Just on the 11th of December, Alicia, I celebrated 40 years of being sober from alcohol.
40 years, that's quite a milestone.
And I couldn't even imagine that when I was drinking. If God's self had come and said, someday you would be able to celebrate 40 years, which is more than half of my lifetime, without alcohol. And i- in addition, I was able to stop smoking as well. I have now given up meat eating as well. Of course, that's by choice.
Yes.
I wouldn't have ever imagined that I could do this. But I want to let all our listeners know it all happened one day at a time. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with that first step.
Yes.
And no matter how rich you are, how powerful you are, how influential you may be, you can't live more than one day at a time, Alicia.
Yes.
Yesterday is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow is only a vision, it's only a dream, it's only a hope. But today is the only day we have in our life. And I'm saying that especially when it comes to people who are using drugs and alcohol and all of that, because I know a lot of them would have made their New Year resolution to give it up.
Yes.
And why I'm saying that is because I did that for years. When I was drinking, Alicia, it is not, alcoholics and drug users are not stupid people. They're very, very intelligent. If you know any of them, you'll see they're very skilled, they're very talented. They have done very well in school while they were, clear-headed. You
Yes.
will see from the time drugs and alcohol entered the equation, their lives started going downhill. So that they are not foolish. So that most of the people out there who have become addicted and dependent, they are aware, that they're having a problem. You know, but in order so that they could continue to use, as I did, we use a defense mechanism called denial. We would find all kinds of ways to rationalize our drinking on drug use so we could continue to drink and use without feeling guilty. One of my rationalization, I like to share that because it was I used it till I almost believed it was true. I would say, look, I don't play cricket, I don't play football, I don't gamble. So if I take a few drinks, what's wrong with that? I felt I was entitled, and that's a predominant mentality in Trinidad and Tobago, that a man must have some kind of recreation. Even my mother would say that, oh, God, look, give the boy a chance, the man. Oh gosh, man, he's worked hard. He need to relax. And so we get the support to continue to use, even though secretly I knew drinking was causing a problem. I knew I would end up in places I never wanted to go. I would spend money I had never intended to. I would expose myself to risks that, no, today I could say, look, God does protect alcoholics and little children. But that is only when we don't know it. But when you're sober, you'd wonder how could I do this? You know, and what would happen is the person would try secretly, as I did. You would secretly try to stop it or to control it at first. I wouldn't try to stop it. I liked drinking. I like how I felt. I enjoyed it. I was strong. I wasn't getting in trouble. I was the kind of drunk who would like to sing and beat table and all of that. I never really was a cussing, fighting kind of drunk.
Right.
But so I didn't get into much trouble, but boy, I could have gotten into so many accidents because I drove a RX2 and I would go up to 100 and change miles per hour on the road, and God protected me. You understand? So secretly, I would try to stop, and I'll set targets. I'll say, look, until carnival, or until my birthday, or until this wedding, or something. And you know what would happen? Sometimes, as if for good measure, the same day I make the resolution, same day I will go and drink. And this is why today, when I speak to people who are alcoholics and drug addicts, I understand, Alicia. It is
But
not the wicked or the, yes, you wanted to say something. Yes.
speaking of this topic, and I know you always speak from your experience, and it is great that you're live here and you can share from your experience. So it's not a story you're telling, it's more or less a life, your journey from beginning and the paths that you took and the decisions that you made. But what made you realize, or what shook you up to take this decision this hard?
All right. Good, very good question. That is a very good question. Because alcoholism, as I said, is a disease of denial. When a person who is drinking or using drugs, and when I say alcoholism, I mean other addictions as well. He is in denial. That is, I rationalize, like I said, I make excuses for myself, and because secretly I know I can't stop. To stop was too painful. Because when you stop, you go into what is called withdrawal symptoms. Some
Yes.
people have trouble to sleep. Some people have trouble to eat. Some people feel very badly about themselves. And some people start, moving from addiction to usage to they're using it as a medication to help them with depression. When they feel depressed, they drink. When they feel anxious, they drink. You understand? So when it reaches to those kinds of things, it is very difficult for the person to stop. Now, it's not impossible, but at that stage, they need help. In my case, I kept limping along, because I was still able to hang on to my job. The people on the job did not know how I drank. I was still able to save a little money because I had not reached to the chronic stage yet, where I was hallucinating and all of those things. However, the crunch came one day. Me and my wife had a quarrel. But now looking back, I could see how unreasonable I was. We had planned to go to visit a relative, and that same morning before I left, some friends pulled up and said they invited me out. Well, the guy pulled up in front of the house and blew the horn, and when I came out, he said, "What about the tax clearance you have to do for me?" Because I used to work in inland revenue before, and I would help people fill out their tax returns and so on.
Yes.
And I, with a short pants, and I put a jersey on my shoulder, and I came to the car, and I said, "What tax clearance you talking about?" These were my drinking buddies. You know what the guy said? He said, "We just say that for your wife to hear, boy."
Oh my.
So they were making an excuse for me. You understand? And he said, "We just going up the road. There was a bar called Optimark right on Pier Road. We just going for a beer." So from the car, I told my wife, "Get ready, I'm coming back," because we were supposed to leave at 8 o'clock, right? To go all the way Point Fortin by her family in Salazar Trace. And the reason why I was going there because all her cousins used to drink. And they had called me and told me they have a goodie tie and waiting for when I come. So you know what happened? Those kinds of activities will get priority.
Yes.
So I told her, "Get ready." We had 2 children at the time, and I went with these guys with all good intentions, just to have one beer. But that is what distinguishes a social drinker from an alcoholic. A social drinker could have gone and taken one beer and come back and go about his business. But an alcoholic can't do that. How many times, and I want to ask our listeners and all our brothers and sisters out there, how many times you told yourself, "I'm just going for one beer," only to find you take two. And we Trinidadians, we have a way to encourage you. And we say, "You can't stand up on one foot, man."
Yes.
You understand? So by the time you take two, nobody has to ask you to take the turn.
Famous one, take one for the road.
Yeah, one for the road, and then eventually you take one for the drain as well.
Yes.
So after 2 and 3, I reminded my friends, "Boy, listen, I have to go out. I have to," telling them we have to go and all of that. And they were telling me, "Listen, man, it's not the airport, it's not a flight you're going to catch. These drinking friends, they will come up with every excuse for you too, because they're similar. They say you have RX too, you're going to reach down Point 14 in no time." You understand? Besides, it's not like you're going to miss a flight. Now, let me tell you the truth, Alicia. The truth is, now I understand that I'm sober. Look, the truth is, why am I worried about going to Point 14 when the drink is right here in front of me?
Yeah.
Because the same reason I'm going there is the same reason I'm already here. So this is why back of my head, I am in no hurry. So I continue to drink, but I'm worried because my wife, I know she would be, set up and waiting for me. You understand? And we have had so many quarrels because of this same issue. I would promise her to go to the grocery. I would promise her we'll go out with the children. And if I met her friend and started to drink, you know what would happen? They would be put on hold,
Yeah.
So eventually, at about nearly 11 o'clock, I came back home. And there she is now. She's not ready to go anywhere because she got herself dressed, got the children dressed. Then they got them undressed and she undressed. And then she got back dressed and just because she really wanted to go. It's her relatives, and she had promised them to come. But by then, 11 o'clock, she had dressed and undressed twice. So she set up, like we say in Trinidad, like a mapipi and waiting for me.
Oh my God.
And when I walked to the gate and I see her in her home clothes, Well, I blew a fuse because now I mash up a good line to go there. It's her family, and she says she's not going anywhere again. I can't
Oh.
go there without her. So you know
Mhm.
what happened? It's a big blowout. We started into a quarrel, and
Mhm.
and she just grabbed the two children and walked out of the gate and went to the neighbors, old people over the road with a parlor. She went there, and I got so angry because I said she was now trying to shame me, you know. And I closed the gate. I said, "You walk out of my house, you can't come back."
Yeah.
And I sat there now, and I'm smoking cigarettes, and I'm in a rocker, and I'm fuming because all my plans have gone haywire.
Yes.
But then, as I started to calm down, this was my second marriage, Alicia. The first
Mhm.
marriage, two children as well, two girls, break up mostly because of drinking. Here was the second one going down the tubes. So that eventually, that is what was the crunch, that was the crisis. But even so, the next day, just to appease her, you know, I decided to do something about my drinking. Not that I wanted to stop, but I just wanted to make her feel, well, look, so I told her I was going to stop. But it's a long story, but that was the crisis. And this is what it takes for a lot of people to eventually make that decision to do something. But a lot of times, just like me, they're just doing it to appease the situation. Like the guy who got into some accident on the job because of his drinking, or he's truant from the job, he's not attending, he's missing days of work.
Mhm.
Only when he's threatened by his employer that, look, you better do something about your drinking, then he decides to go for treatment. You
Right.
understand? And I have seen so many people referred by government, by private companies when I worked at Cora Hospital. But they don't think they have a problem still. In fact, they really don't think they need to go for treatment. Still believe they could handle it. And I'm saying this to people like myself, people in the helping professions. It doesn't matter what brings a person to you, even though they are still in denial, because you know that you need to help them to develop insight. You need to speak to them and help them to realize that, look, it is the drinking that is causing the problems. You understand? Not their friends. The friends is not the problem. A lot of them, if you ask the family, sometimes the mother-in-law would say, he was a good boy until he got married to that girl. He
Oh
wasn't
my.
drinking so much, and they'll
Yeah.
blame the daughter-in-law instead.
Yes.
And she, poor thing, trying to keep her marriage together,
Mhm.
not want to displease him. Sometimes she goes with him too and takes a drink. So because she know he likes this, he enjoys this. And these days, up to yesterday, I was speaking to someone. Now the husbands are going into the casinos, not only drinking, you're getting drink for free, you're getting food there as well.
Mhm.
And the drinking and gambling. Now that's a double whammy because gambling is a very, very serious addiction.
Agreed.
And the wives are going with them because they are all these. I don't mean to cast aspersions against these women who work in the casinos, but
Right.
if you ever been to a casino, Alicia, they dress to entice the men, and a lot of them flirt with the men, and the wives are very insecure to stay home and allow your husband to go to the casino alone. Because if
Yes.
he win, he probably may spend the night there.
Oh.
So they go, and of course, they become the butt of everybody's, accusations that you are the one. If he's drinking, why are you going with him? You are
Yeah.
encouraging him. We don't blame our own. So it's really, really a tough situation, especially for the wives.
Yes.
Now, when a person is drinking, they don't see that. I'm saying these things deliberately although I didn't go gambling, but it is not easy to live with a man who is drinking, Alicia. It is a very difficult thing. And men, all those men in recovery, they have a responsibility now to help their wives because, I work in psychiatry. I work at Ward 8 in Port of Spain. I work at St. Anne's Hospital. I work at Coro Hospital. I work at Ward 1 in San Fernando. And I have seen so many women come in for depression and anxiety and all kind of psychiatric conditions long before their husband, who is the alcoholic. They become neurotic because they don't know how to be normal with a man who is abnormal. A person who is an alcoholic is actually mentally ill. Some of my listeners may not agree with me, they may not be happy with, but the only difference between a drunk man and a madman is that the drunk man is temporarily insane.
Yeah.
You understand? Because a man under the influence of alcohol, he can't predict what he's going to do. And there's a condition called blackout, where you can, and there have been in Trinidad here documented cases where people in a state of blackout killed other people, and next day they can't remember what they've
Wow.
done. You understand? So, yes, I know that a lot of people would have made their resolutions, you know, as I used to, from all, and there's two reasons for that. All from September, October, and so on. I will be telling the people around me, I'll show you all from the 1st of January, I'm not going to drink anymore. Now, now I understand the reason for that was, look, give me a break right now because I'm going to stop. So they wouldn't say anything to me because he's going to stop from the 1st of January. And you know what would happen? And that wasn't a false promise. I really meant it because in my own life, the kind of person I have been, I have had a willpower of steel. Those who know me growing up, if I tell you, Alicia, I'm doing something, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to do it because I come from a tradition where I was drummed in my head. There's a line from the Ramayana, Raghu Kularit Sada Chaliyai, Pran Jai Par Vachan Na Jai. That is, there's a tradition among us that it is better our life go, but we must never break our promises. And so I had that determination in whatever I did. I could not understand when it come to alcohol where my determination used to go. My willpower used to melt like butter in the sun. And so I would feel ashamed when I promise anyone that I will stop and then I go back and drink. So I stop promising anybody. But to myself, secretly, I would try. But when I fail, I would fail so many times.
But
So that,
but
yeah,
you never gave up.
no, I never gave up because,
Continue trying.
yes, and you never fail until you stop trying.
I agree
If you
with you.
keep trying, you are not failed. Every time you fail, you learn something new about yourself, hopefully.
It's really sad to say that sometimes it's only when something tragically happens, maybe a sickness would befall on an individual, or something in the family matters, or they will be close to going broke, then you would see someone now willing to make a change.
Yes,
Is
and this is why it is critical at that time, Alicia, that they have someone or somewhere to go to get help. Because,
and where addiction and recovery comes in.
yes, and this is the reason for this program. Basically, this program that we do every week is not really to sober up the world. I have nothing against people who could take a drink and enjoy it. Not everybody. It's just about 10% of the population are alcoholics. 90% of them could take a drink and leave it and enjoy themselves and so on. And nothing is wrong with that. So that I have said this so many times, but I don't mind repeating it because not everybody who drink will become alcoholics. Not everybody who drink will become alcoholics. But
Agreed, yes.
but everybody who drank, everybody who became alcoholic started with a first drink. You understand? You cannot become alcoholic. Well, you cannot confirm because some people are born alcoholics, Alicia. If your grandfather, great grandfather were alcoholic, you could born with the DNA and you could be alcoholic without even knowing it. So those people who are born with that genetic predisposition, they are the kind of people, the first day they go and drink, they go and drink and get drunk. You understand?
Mhm.
So yes, so that the fact is, if you know that you have a strong family history of alcoholism, father on your father's side or mother's side, the same way we inherit our our complexion, our looks, our ethnicity from our ancestors, so too we could inherit that genetic predisposition to drink. So if you know you have a history, of alcoholism in your family, then you need to be especially careful and mindful that, look, hey, and as I say this, let me tell you a simple formula. If you want to know if you're an alcoholic, it's simple. If you have to try to stop drinking, you're an alcoholic, because you don't have to try to stop drinking orange juice or grapefruit juice or anything. Why it is taking so much effort, or why are you becoming so defensive when it comes to alcohol? You know why? Because you're alcoholic. Another reason is, once you take one drink and you have the craving for another, that's also a sign of alcoholism.
And what about the willpower to say no?
Right. Well, this is what a person has to develop, because that willpower comes from self-confidence. But you
Yes.
see, as I say that, there's a lot of people who born and grow up with such low self-esteem that they don't have the self-confidence. And as a result, they become a member of a group, a teenage group. You have a group of friends, and the friends take in, and that happened with me. I was with a group of friends. We were going from Gandhi Valley, where I born and grew up, to the creek, that's Mosquito Creek, which was the closest beach that we could go walking distance. And while we were on the way on the M2 Ring Road, one of the older boys, he had a brown bag, and he took out the bag from the bag, he opened the cork, and he took a drink, and he passed it to another one of the friends in the group, and to another, and then it came to me. And Alicia, I never asked what was in the bottle. If it was poison, all of us dead.
Oh my
The
God.
mere fact that my friends drank, I
Mhm.
suspected it was alcohol, but I wanted to continue to have membership of that group. I did not want to appear to be a weakling. I know if I refuse to take the drink, the whole group is going to gang up and say, well, you know, you don't qualify to be one of us. So because of my low self-esteem, I took a drink too. Although it blistered my throat for the rest of the day, I couldn't swallow anything, but I drank it. And that is the difficulty in saying no. All right, let me give you another example. How many times you're in a group and the other people start bad talking somebody who's not there? And
Always.
how difficult it has been for you to say, hey, no, or you shouldn't do this. You'd rather either stay quiet, or most people would join the conversation.
Some would join, some would just ignore the fact of what they're speaking about, or some would
Right.
just room. Their choices.
Yeah, so I'm saying, to say no, it is not very easy.
No, it's not. And
We just,
and
there
there are
was a
wrong.
slogan. Yeah, there was a slogan one time: "Say no to drugs." We
Mhm.
used to have it posted all about the place. But that is good to print, but to do it, you
Mhm.
understand, it's completely different. When you're in that group, and if you don't think you're an alcoholic, why you drink it? You understand? Because, as I said to parents, children are not only curious about geography and history.
Mhm.
They're curious about drugs too. Because, Alicia, again, I have to thank this media house for the
Mhm.
principled position that they have taken not to advertise alcohol and cigarettes. That's something that is, I don't think a lot of people fully appreciate the revenues you or this station forego in order to be able to stand on the pedestal of principle, on this matter. And this is one of the reasons I choose to do this program with this station as well, because I have done work with other television stations and radio stations. And I remember in 1993, I was with another media house, And boy, the rum companies were after me, because they didn't like what I was saying.
Wow.
You understand? And they persuaded the media house to put a alcoholic advertisement right in the middle of my program. Can you imagine? We are talking about alcoholism and drug addiction, and you want to put a advertisement right in the middle of this program that advertises alcohol? In principle, I said no, and I could have, because they were not paying me to do the program as well. Because the old saying, those who pay the piper will call the tune. But the company were paying them, so they had to listen. So what happened? They sacrificed my program. They cut it down from 1 hour to half. That's the kind of society we are living in. So when we try to say no, you come up against a lot of overt pressure and discreet pressure and subtle pressure from so many different sources. You understand? So that this is why it is not as easy as a lot of people who do not understand the issues involved. I have heard just last week, and last week program I mentioned it, one lady who was here, we have a business place, and she was telling my wife, it's just your mind, all you have to do is make up your mind. And do you know, a lot of people believe that. Yes, it is true, you have to make up your mind. But you and your mind, like I said, I know how many times I made up my mind and I failed, that I stopped making up my mind. I found it easier to make an excuse to continue. Because if you really understand an alcoholic, you know, um, and this is one of the reasons even professionals who do have not worked in the field of substance abuse, doctors and psychiatrists who have
Mhm.
not worked in that field, they really don't understand, because to really understand an alcoholic and a drug addict, like the North American Indians say, you have to walk a month in that person's shoes. You have to put yourself in that position. And it is not coincidental that Alcoholics Anonymous has come out to be the most successful organization in helping alcoholics and drug addicts worldwide, because in there you have people who are speaking from their experience. Now, 40 years ago, you'd never catch me on the station telling anybody that I am an alcoholic.
Mhm.
In fact, if you told me I was an alcoholic out there, you'd be in serious trouble. I am saying it not to brag or boast. I know some of even my family members don't like me saying it. But if I could say this, that would help one person out there to change their life, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. You understand? Because the problem of alcoholism is so rampant in this country. You understand that we have to take responsibility, and I want to let people know out there that it is not the end of the world. You know, there are some things I have not and will not share on this program, personal things, but I
Mhm.
know I have lived it. And I want to let our listeners know that no matter how bad you have reached, a lot of people have reached to being suicidal. They have been divorced, estranged, separated. They have lost their job. They have now been told by the doctors if they drink, they will die. And some of them get so discouraged, Alicia, that they ask themselves, well, I don't lose everything, my job, my wife, my everything, my health, everything. What's the point in stopping now? I
Yeah.
have heard that. But I want to let you know you still have life. And anyone listening out there, can you tell me the value of life? How much money, or how many jobs, how many wives, how many cars, how many houses you will trade for your life? The fact that you have life today, you have a lot to be grateful for. And before the program started, I want to thank the team again for those videos that they present, and they spoke about gratitude,
Yeah.
and they spoke about happiness. Well, I tell you something, I would not never have experienced true happiness if I had not stopped drinking. Now I know what it is to really be happy. You know, we buy two duck, we go to Cora, we cook it, we buy a half case of rum. I don't know who eat the duck. I don't even know how I reach back home. Next day I vomit in yellow and green. Is that really happiness? No, no, not at all. I know how the Christmas passed, I know how the New Year's pass. I know, I could tell you everywhere I've been. So coming back to those people who would have I know you will make the resolution because you didn't really want to fool anybody or fool yourself. And at 12 midnight, I would go down on my knees and I would pray and ask God, and say, commit to staying sober for the rest of my life. Honestly, meaning that. And I did that for years, Alicia. And you know what would happen, girl? Next day, New Year's, yeah, everybody drinking, having a good time, and the saying, I feeling like flying molasses.
Oh my.
you know, and then my grandmother, somebody will say, well, boy, oh gosh, take a drink to dinner. Look, all your brother-in-law and everybody here. And from tomorrow, you go stop now. And it
Yeah.
will happen. It will start a whole year again. And after
Yeah.
it happened a few times, I stopped trying to stop.
You
I
stop trying.
gave up. I gave up on myself. I just realized that, look, now I sing in a new tune. I say, look, if you drink, you go dead, and if you ain't drink, you go still dead. I like to drink, so give me a break.
Oh my.
You understand? Yeah, because I did not know everything I knew. I had tried. You understand? And it had failed me. So I want to let people like that know that you can stop. In fact, when you reach to that stage, you are now really ready because you know all your schemes, all changing the chaser, changing the friends, changing the geography, everything has not worked. Now you have to turn outside yourself. So you get help from outside. You understand? One of the sources outside is that same manufacturer who made you and me, God as we understood him. You understand? And that is how I did it. I got up the next day and I went, I'm a Hindu. I went and I threw my gel to Suryanarayan Swami and to Shiva. I had forgotten you should supposed to throw one for Tulsi as well, but my aunt reminded me the next day, you're supposed to throw for Tulsi. And I asked God to help me stay sober. That just that day, that was a formula. That is what I learned. That was the new thing I learned. The new thing I learned is that you didn't have to stop for the rest of your life. Because how long was the rest of your life? You didn't know. So we worry about that for. All you had to do was stop for today. And I said, but look, I used to stop for days, sometimes with a bad mind, sometimes because I was back pressuring, as we say, in remorse and sick with the drinking and in a hangover. And I would stay a few days. So I said, but I could make that. I could do that. So this is what was suggested to me. You get up in the morning, and I'm suggesting it to all listeners as we speak. All you have to do is get up in the morning. If you're a Hindu or Christian, I know Hindu God work, Christian God has work, Muslim God, everybody God has work. You don't have to worry about that. Once you ask God to help you to stay sober, but Alicia, you have to pray to God as though everything depends on God. But you still have to work as though everything depends on you. So that day, after I threw my gel, I didn't believe God will help me because I believe all the wrong things I did in the past. This was my karma, I had to suffer. And that, me and God was not too much a friend. And then I used to blame him and say, how God could let a good fellow like me suffer? He was like an enemy. But that day I did. I prayed and I asked him to help me to stay sober. And I remember I wanted to buy a soft drink. And rather than go on the junction, they have 4 rum shop right next to me here on the junction. Rather than go there and buy the soft drink, I walk right up the road to Betty's Parlor and buy the soft drink because I wanted to show God that I was keeping my part of the bargain. I was advised to avoid hunger, anger, loneliness, and tiredness. The word halt, because when you're hungry, then you just feel the drink. But if you're belly full, you don't feel the drink. And I was the kind of person I just had to get vexed, and I would say before I stay and kill somebody, give me I go on.
Oh my.
I go and take a drink. You understand? And loneliness, yes, could cause a person to feel sorry for themselves and cause you to drink. And a lot of times when you work yourself too tired, the T is for tiredness, you feel you deserve to celebrate with a drink. You understand? So for people who want to stop, I would suggest you get up in the morning, you pray, ask God to help you to stay sober. Get rid of the alcohol from the house. because if you don't have it available, you will not drink it, right? Get rid of the alcohol or the drugs, all the paraphernalia and so on. And just remember, you only have to do this for the rest of today, right? Stay away from people, places, and situations where it is available, because availability is the number one cause of people using drugs. Common sense will tell you if it's not available, you can't get it. So you distance yourself from where it is available. Because even if you get the urge and you have to go quite out the road or wherever to get a drink, you have enough time to change your mind. But if you have it right in the cupboard there, you know what happens? You can't sleep in the night. Your mind will be making trips to the
Yes.
cupboard, to the room, you know. So don't keep it there and torture yourself. You know, get rid of it. You're doing, and if you do this thing right, you'll never have to do it again.
Agreed.
And that is how days went into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. And like I say, if God self had come and told me, someday I will be 40 years sober and going to university and doing television program with Alicia, I would have probably asked if he drunk or what.
Oh my.
You understand? I couldn't believe it, but it is the sky is the limit for a person who is sober. You know,
Yeah.
after I stopped drinking, I had so much time for my family now. We could go to the beach, we could do this. I had so much time. I always wanted to learn to play music. I love singing. I started to learn to play harmonium and tabla and dholak and flute. And now I'm not a master of any of those things, but I enjoy playing them.
But
And then eventually I went back to school, Alicia.
yeah, so in other words, yes, you furthered your education, you
Yes.
took some other decisions to, occupy your time.
Right, and just like what in keeping with the that little video, you all of these things were mentioned in the video. Now keeping yourself occupied with something that you enjoy doing. I went back to university. I came back here. I got promoted in the job, and boy, this I have my life has become so useful. I don't have time. I don't waste any time anymore. Like I started off by telling you, I'm living about 10 lifetimes in one. You
Wow.
understand? Even after this program, there's so many other things I do. I love gardening. I love to fix things, invent things. I make all kind of, you know, creative things. And my conversations with everyone now is not about drinking and where we went yesterday and all of this, or talking about bad talking people. No, no, no. All my conversations, I want them to be creative and developmental, so that if I could help anyone out there, and for this reason, I encourage people listening to the program, if you think you have a problem or you're not sure, you can call me and we could talk about it. There's no harm, because alcoholism and drug addiction is recognized as a disease. And if you're sick, it's not your fault. Although the public don't have much sympathy, Alicia, for people who is drinking, because the first thing they say, look, nobody held you down and put you down your throat. But from the other person's perspective, the public doesn't realize when you have reached to that stage of compulsive drinking, uncontrolled drinking, addictive use, you can't help yourself. You have to get help. You understand? And help is available. We in Trinidad are so fortunate, girl. We have the Cora Substance Abuse Treatment Center. The clinic is on Thursday. You don't have to pay no money. You just go there on a
Great.
Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. You will be
Mhm.
seen and you will be evaluated and you'll get help. And then we have like 124 AA groups in Trinidad and Tobago. We have the highest concentration of AA groups than any other country in the world. Thanks for the work, the early work that people like Professor Bourbon and they do to help set it up here. We have NA groups, we have Al-Anon groups, and then there are so many other private organizations that are like Rebirth House and Heal House and New Life Ministries and Serenity Place. These are all places, if anyone would like to get more information about these places, how to get in contact with them, you can call me after the program. I'll give them the information. And better than all of that, out of a crisis that was COVID. Now we have online meetings, just like this program that myself and you are doing this morning, using the Zoom platform. Every evening in Trinidad here, there are meetings at 7 o'clock for anyone. And this has given an additional advantage because
Mhm.
the old days, women and young girls and young boys and so on, they don't want to go to AA meetings because that's for old people, who gone bad. And for women to go and sit with a whole group of men and speak about themselves was very, very challenging.
That
Now,
is.
a lot of girls are coming to the meetings. I am aware of it,
Mhm.
and young people, and they're getting help, you know. So we have all of this. All you have to do is to call. And I know people call the radio station and they get my number. It's all right. You all can give my number. I'm willing. If I could just help one person to change their way of life, Alicia, then my own life is justified.
Well, I must say, it has been quite an interesting program here this morning. What a great way to start a new year 2024. Unfortunately, our time is limited as we speak. Any closing comments before we head on out?
Yes, well, it was a pleasure doing the program with you, Alicia. And I want to let all our listeners out there know that the program is repeated at 10 in the night and it
Yep.
is going to be posted on YouTube and Facebook. On YouTube, it's posted under my name, Ramnaresh Dwarika. So you can pull it up and you can also refer other people who don't want to call and who don't want to go to AA, who don't want to come to meeting. The same information that we posted that we spoke about would be available that they can listen to in the privacy of their own home in their own time, and they can call me if they need additional help. So thank you again and thank the station.
And we thank each and every one of you for spending your morning with us on the program Addiction and Recovery. Special thank you going out to Mr. Ramnaresh Dwarka, and thank you once again. We now take you back to more regular scheduled program right here on Radio and TV Jagrati. Sitaram.